Daeho Kim walked into the biggest meeting room he had ever seen. The walls were made of some kind of metal that changed colors every few seconds. Blue, then green, then a color that hurt his eyes to look at. He carried a simple briefcase and wore his best suit, the one his wife had picked out for him before he left Earth. This is it, he thought to himself. First official meeting with the Galactic Council. The room was full of creatures that looked like they came from his daughter's worst nightmares. There was something that looked like a giant bug with too many eyes. Another thing floated in the air and seemed to be made of light and smoke. A third creature had tentacles where its face should be. Daeho sat down in the only normal-looking chair in the room. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a notebook and pen. Old school, just like his grandfather taught him. Always be ready to take notes. The giant bug thing spoke first. Its voice sounded like glass breaking. I am Vorthak, speaker for the Zephyrian people. We welcome the humans to this council. Thank you, Daeho said. He wrote down the name in his notebook. I'm Ambassador Daeho Kim. Nice to meet you all. The floating light creature made a sound like wind chimes. I am Quilm of the Etherian Collective. We must speak of serious matters today. Daeho nodded and wrote that down, too. What kind of serious matters? Vorthak's many eyes all turned to look at him. Your people wish to travel between the stars using faster-than-light drives. This is dangerous. Dangerous how? Daeho asked. He had ridden in FTL ships many times. His cousin Tyke was a ship captain. His friend Minji built the engines. It seemed pretty safe to him. Quilm's light grew brighter. You do not understand. The space between stars is not empty. It is full of things. Horrible things. Things that change you. Another creature spoke up. This one looked like a walking tree made of metal. When my people first traveled through the void, half of them never came back. The ones who did return, they were different. They could not speak. They could only write numbers on the walls. Daeho wrote this down. It sounded bad, but he was confused. I'm sorry, but humans have been using FTL drives for over 100 years. We're fine. The room went very quiet. All the strange creatures stared at him. Vorthak spoke slowly. You have been traveling through the void for 100 years? Well, my great-grandfather started the first company in 2287, Kim Family Shipping. We deliver packages all over the galaxy. Daeho pulled out his phone and showed them a picture. This is my cousin Tyek. He runs a ship called the Soul Express. Makes the Earth to Alpha Centauri run 3 times a week. The metal tree creature made a sound like metal scraping metal. 3 times a week? Through the void between dimensions? Sure. It's good business. People need their packages delivered. Fast. Daeho was getting more confused. Is there a problem with that? Quilm's light started flashing. The problem is that the void changes people. It shows them things that should not be seen. It whispers secrets that drive minds to madness. Oh, that, Daeho said. He waved his hand. Yeah, the ships can get a bit weird during jumps, but you just ignore it. My cousin says the trick is to bring good music and snacks. Vorthak's eyes widened. All of them, at the same time. You ignore the cosmic horrors? Well, they're not really cosmic horrors. They're just annoying, like bad weather, Deho thought about his last trip. Sometimes the ship's computer starts talking backwards. Sometimes you see tentacles coming out of the walls, but it only lasts a few minutes. Then you're back in normal space and everything is fine. The creatures in the room started making noise. The bug thing was clicking rapidly. The light being was flashing like a broken street lamp. The tree was creaking and groaning. Another creature spoke up. This one looked like a giant fish with legs. My people tried FTL travel once. Our bravest explorer went into the void. When he came back, he could only speak in ancient poetry. He spent the rest of his life painting pictures of eyes that watched him from the darkness. That sounds rough, Deho said. He felt bad for them. But humans don't really have that problem. I mean, sometimes people get a little motion sick. And my friend Minji says the interdimensional static can give you headaches. But mostly it's just boring. Boring? Vorthak's voice cracked. Yeah. You sit in your seat. The ship goes into the void. You see some weird stuff. Then you come out the other side. It's like riding the subway, but with more tentacles. Deho shrugged. My nephew takes the school ship to Mars every semester. He says the worst part is the food they serve on board. Quilm floated closer to him. Human, do you understand what you are saying? The void between dimensions is a place of pure terror. It is where reality goes to die. The things that live there are older than stars. They have no names because names cannot contain their awfulness. Deho nodded politely. Right. But they mostly just float around and look at you. They don't really do anything. My cousin Tyke waves at them sometimes. The room exploded in noise. Every creature was talking at once. They were using words Deho didn't understand. Words like impossibility and cosmic significance and fundamental violation of universal law. Deho waited for them to calm down. Then he opened his briefcase again and pulled out some photos. Look, maybe this will help. These are pictures from my family's shipping business. He laid the photos on the table. One showed his cousin Tyke standing next to his ship, grinning and giving a thumbs up. Another showed the crew having a barbecue on the ship's deck while floating in interdimensional space. There were tentacles and impossible shapes in the background, but everyone looked happy. The last photo showed his nephew's school class on a field trip. 20 kids were posing for a group photo while some kind of cosmic entity with too many angles floated behind them. The entity seemed to be trying to photobomb the picture. See? Deho said. Everything's fine. The kids even think it's fun. Vorthak picked up the school photo with one of his claw hands. He stared at it for a long time. This child, he said, pointing to Deho's nephew. He is smiling. Of course he's smiling. It's picture day. But there is an entity of pure chaos directly behind him. Deho looked at the photo. Oh, that's just a Class C void dweller. They're harmless. They like to show up in photos. The kids call them photobombers. The metal tree creature leaned forward. You have classified the entities? Well, yeah. The shipping company needs safety guidelines. Class A entities just float around. Class B entities might try to talk to you, but they're usually pretty polite. Class C entities are curious and like to play pranks. Class D entities are the ones that try to redecorate your ship, but they have terrible taste in furniture. Quilms. Light was now flashing so fast it looked like a strobe light. You have regulations? For cosmic horrors? Someone has to. My Aunt Minji wrote the safety manual. Safe shipping in interdimensional space. A practical guide. It's required reading for all our drivers. Deho pulled a small book out of his briefcase. Chapter 3 covers proper etiquette when dealing with entities that exist outside normal space-time. The creatures in the room stared at the book like it was going to explode. Vorthak spoke very slowly. Human Ambassador Deho Kim, are you telling us that your people have turned interdimensional travel into a normal business? Pretty much. We've got shipping routes, scheduled flights, even tourist trips for people who want to see the weird stuff up close. My neighbor runs cosmic horror tours every weekend, very popular with college students. The room went completely silent. Daiho could hear his own breathing. Finally, Quilm spoke. This changes everything. Take Lee looked at his watch and frowned. They were supposed to jump to hyperspace 10 minutes ago, but the Galactic Council observers were still setting up their equipment. He took a sip of his coffee and waited. Captain Lee, said one of the observers. It was a tall, thin creature with purple skin and too many fingers. We need more time to prepare the psychological monitoring devices. No problem, Tyke said. But we've got a schedule to keep. I promised Mrs. Park on Proxima Station that her kimchi would arrive by Thursday. The purple creature looked confused. You are worried about fermented vegetables at a time like this? You've never tasted Mrs. Park's kimchi, Take said. Trust me, it's worth worrying about. In the navigation room, Jiho Nam was having his own problems. The ship's computer was old and slow, and the Galactic Council had insisted on installing new sensors everywhere. Now he had wires and blinking lights all over his workstation. This is ridiculous, Jiho muttered. He moved a wire that was blocking his coffee cup holder. I can't even see my navigation screen. Sora Chang, the ship's doctor, stuck her head into the room. How are you feeling, Jiho? Any pre-jump anxiety? Fear of cosmic horror? Existential dread? Jiho laughed. The only thing I'm worried about is whether I remembered to record my show last night. We'll be in hyperspace for 6 hours. What show? Sora asked. Cooking with the Stars. Celebrity Chef Edition. They were making bulgogi. Jiho looked sad. I really hope I set the recorder right. Down in the engine room, Youngsu Bei was explaining. Hyperspace travel to a group of alien scientists. They were all taking notes and asking questions. Lots of questions. So the interdimensional field generator creates a bubble around the ship, Youngsu said. He pointed to a big machine that hummed quietly. This lets us slide between normal space and hyperspace. One of the scientists, a creature that looked like a walking jellyfish, raised a tentacle. But what about the entities? The things that live in hyperspace? Oh, them. Youngsu shrugged. They're just part of the neighborhood. You learn to live with them. Like having weird neighbors? Weird neighbors? The jellyfish scientist sounded shocked. Yeah, sometimes they borrow things without asking. Last week something took our coffee maker, but they brought it back the next day with a nice thank you note. The scientists all started writing in their notebooks very fast. On the bridge, Hunako was setting up her communication equipment. As the ship's communications officer, it was her job to stay in touch with Earth during the jump. She had done this hundreds of times before. Testing, testing, she said into her microphone. Earth Control, this is Soul Express. Can you hear me? Loud and clear, Soul Express, came the reply from Earth. Have a good jump. Try not to let the cosmic horrors mess with the radio again. Will do, Earth Control. Soul Express out. She turned to the alien observers who were watching her. Any questions? A creature that looked like a giant eyeball with arms raised one of its arms. You maintain communication during hyperspace travel? Sure. The entities in hyperspace are pretty good at carrying messages. They like to help. Huna smiled. Sometimes they add their own comments, but mostly they just pass along what you want to say. The eyeball creature wrote something down. Its handwriting was terrible. Captain Tyke's voice came over the ship's speakers. Attention, everyone. We'll be jumping to hyperspace in 5 minutes. Please make sure your seatbelts are fastened and your snacks are secure. The alien observers looked at each other. Snacks? Jump warning is normal procedure, Sora explained to them. Some people get motion sick when we enter hyperspace. It helps to have crackers. Motion sick? Asked the purple creature. What about the psychological trauma? The mind-breaking horror of seeing beyond the veil of reality? Well, sometimes people throw up, Sora said. But that's usually just from the motion. The weird stuff you see doesn't really bother most people. The weird stuff doesn't bother them? Nah. After the first few times, you get used to it. My kids actually think it's funny. They play games trying to count how many tentacles they can see. The countdown began. Jumping to hyperspace in 10, 9, 8. The alien observers held on to their seats. Some of them were shaking. 3, 2, 1, jump. The world around them changed. The walls of the ship seemed to melt and flow like water. Colors that had no names painted themselves across the air. Shapes that hurt to look at danced just outside the corners of their eyes. The alien observers screamed. The human crew continued with their normal routine. Jump successful, Jiho announced. We're now traveling through hyperspace at standard cruise speed. Thank you, navigation, Tyke said. Huna, can you check in with the passengers? Huna switched on the passenger communication system. Attention passengers, this is your communication officer. We have successfully entered hyperspace. Flight time to our destination will be approximately 6 hours. Feel free to move around the cabin, but please be careful of any tentacles that might be growing out of the walls. They're harmless, but they can be slippery. One of the alien observers, a creature that looked like a walking rock, was staring out the window. Outside, impossible shapes swam through space like fish made of mathematics. This is the realm of pure chaos, the space between realities. How are you all so calm? Young Su looked out the same window. Oh, those are just the regular crowd. See that big one with all the eyes? We call him Bob. He follows us on the Proxima route. I think he likes the music we play. As if it heard its name, the entity outside pressed what might have been a face against the window. It had too many eyes, and they were all different colors. "Hi, Bob," Young-Soo waved. "How's it going?" The entity seemed to wave back with a tentacle that existed in 7 dimensions at once. The rock creature fainted. "Poor guy," Sora said. "She got her medical kit. First time in hyperspace is always rough for non-humans. I've got some smelling salts that work on rock-based life forms." "Why doesn't it affect humans the same way?" asked the jellyfish scientist. Sora thought about it while she helped the rock creature. "Honestly, I think we're just too stubborn to let weird stuff bother us. My grandmother always said, if you can't change something, learn to live with it." But the cosmic horror. "Look," Sora said patiently, "I grew up in Seoul. During rush hour, the subway is full of angry people pushing and shoving. That's scarier than a few tentacles and impossible geometry." Hyuna was back on the radio. "Earth Control, this is Seoul Express. We're about 2 hours into the jump. Everything is normal. The entities are being well behaved today." "Copy that, Seoul Express. Any messages from the passengers?" "Let me check." Hyuna switched to the passenger channel. "This is the bridge. Anyone have messages for Earth?" A cheerful voice came back. "Hi, this is little Min-hee in cabin 3. Can you tell my mom I remembered to brush my teeth? And tell her the tentacle monsters are really pretty today." Hyuna smiled. "Earth Control, please tell Mrs. Kim that her daughter Min-hee remembered to brush her teeth. And she says the tentacle monsters are pretty today." "Message delivered, Seoul Express. Tell Min-hee her mom says hello." The eyeball creature was furiously writing notes. "A human child is commenting on the aesthetic qualities of interdimensional horrors." "Kids see things differently," Tyke said from the captain's chair. "To them, it's just part of the trip. Like looking at clouds, but weirder." A new voice came over the ship's communication system. It didn't sound human. It sounded like music played backwards underwater. "Greetings, Seoul Express. This is entity designation." Untranslatable sound. "We hope you are having a pleasant journey." Hyuna picked up her microphone. "Hi there. Thanks for checking in. Everything's great. How are you doing?" "We are content." The small human in cabin 3 waved at us earlier. "It was pleasant." "That's Min-hee. She's 7 years old. She likes making friends." "We understand. Please tell the small human that we enjoyed her gesture of greeting." "Will do. Have a great day." The voice faded away. The alien observers sat in stunned silence. "That," said the purple creature slowly, "was a Class A interdimensional entity. They are supposed to be beyond human understanding. They exist outside the normal concepts of space and time. Yeah, they're pretty nice once you get to know them," Hyuna said. "They help carry messages sometimes, and they give great directions. If you get lost," Jiho's voice came from the navigation station. "Captain, we're getting close to the halfway point. Should I start the mid-jump meal service?" "Good idea," Tyke said. "What's on the menu today?" "Beef bulgogi, rice, kimchi, and seaweed soup, plus cookies for dessert." The jellyfish scientist looked confused. You eat during hyperspace travel? Of course, it's a 6-hour trip. People get hungry? Tyke smiled. Would you like to try some? Our cook makes excellent bulgogi. Before the scientist could answer, another voice came over the communication system. This one sounded like wind chimes made of starlight. Soul Express. We do not have names as you understand them. We are curious about the food preparation happening on your vessel. Huna keyed her microphone. Hi. Yes, we're making lunch. Would you like to know about it? We would find this interesting. Well, bulgogi is thinly sliced beef that's marinated in soy sauce, sugar, sesame oil, garlic, and pear juice. Then you grill it until it's tender and delicious. The research ship Harmony floated in the deepest part of hyperspace. This was a place where reality got confused and forgot what it was supposed to be. Most alien species would never come here. It was too dangerous, too strange, too full of things that shouldn't exist. Jeonwoo Shin loved it. Look at this, he called out to his team. He was pointing at something that looked like a flower made of pure mathematics. It's a geometric bloom. I've never seen one this big before. His research partner, Nari Jong, was nearby talking to what appeared to be a living equation. The creature existed as a series of numbers that changed color depending on its mood. Right now it was a cheerful blue. So you're saying your species evolved from basic addition? Nari asked, taking notes on her waterproof tablet. The equation shifted to a pleased purple. Not evolved. We were calculated into existence. We began as simple arithmetic, but over time we became more complex. Now we are advanced calculus with feelings. That's fascinating, Nari said. And you live here in hyperspace? We live everywhere math exists, but this place is comfortable. The rules here are more flexible. Nearby, Wu Jinha was setting up security barriers around their research area. The barriers were just ropes, with small flags attached, but they seemed to work. The strange creatures of hyperspace respected the boundaries. All clear, Professor Shin, Wu Jin called out. The usual crowd is keeping their distance, though I think that big tentacle thing wants to shake hands. Jeonwoo looked where Wu Jin was pointing. A massive creature with tentacles that existed in 12 dimensions was indeed holding out what might have been a hand. It had dozens of eyes, each one a different color. Oh, that's a multi-dimensional greeter, Jeonwoo said. He walked over and shook the creature's hand. Hello there. I'm Professor Shin. Nice to meet you. The creature made a sound like bells ringing underwater. Then it carefully shook Jeonwoo's hand with a tentacle that had too many joints. The alien crew members watched. From inside the ship, they were wearing special protective suits and hadn't left the vessel. Dr. Zaimal, a Zephyrian scientist, spoke through the radio. Professor Shin, please be careful. That entity could reshape your molecular structure just by touching you. Jeonwoo was still shaking hands with the creature. Really? That's amazing. Can you show me how that works? Dr. Zimal made a sound like static electricity. No! Do not ask it to demonstrate. The multidimensional greeter seemed to understand. It gently patted Jeonwoo on the head with another tentacle, then floated away. Friendly species, Jeonwoo noted in his field journal. Excellent handshake technique. In the ship's kitchen, Yoon-hee Lim was having her own adventure. She had discovered that cooking in hyperspace was different from cooking anywhere else. The laws of physics were more like suggestions, which meant she could try things that were impossible in normal space. Interesting, she muttered, stirring a pot of soup that was floating 3 feet above the stove. In hyperspace, heat travels in spirals instead of straight lines. She had been experimenting all week. Yesterday she had made kimchi that fermented backwards in time. It tasted like the memory of spicy cabbage. Today she was working on soup that existed in 4 dimensions at once. Yoon-hee, called out Dr. Rilke, a Etherian observer. What are you doing in there? Making lunch, Yoon-hee replied cheerfully. Would you like to try some interdimensional soup? It tastes different depending on which angle you look at it from. That sounds terrifying. It's actually quite good. The secret is to add the vegetables when the broth starts singing. Outside, the ship, Nari had found another interesting creature to interview. This one looked like a cloud made of silver light, but it spoke in perfect Korean. How did you learn our language? Nari asked. We absorb information from travelers, the cloud replied. Your people are the first to actually talk to us instead of screaming and running away. We found your language pleasant. It has nice sounds. Thank you. Can you tell me about life in hyperspace? Life here is fluid. We do not have solid forms like you do. We change as we need to. Sometimes we are thoughts, sometimes we are colors. Right now I am choosing to be a conversation. Nari wrote this down. That's beautiful. Do you have names? Names are for beings who stay the same shape. We are, how do you say, flexible. But if it helps you, you may call me Tuesday. Tuesday? It is the day we learned your language. A human child was reading a calendar while traveling through here. We liked the sound of the word. Jae-on-woo had found a whole family of geometric creatures. They looked like living shapes, triangles, squares, and polygons that moved around and played together. The children, small triangles, were chasing each other through dimensions that hurt to look at directly. This is amazing, Jae-on-woo said to himself. A complete ecosystem of mathematical life forms. One of the adult shapes, a large dodecagon, approached him. It spoke in a voice like chalk on a blackboard. You are the human researcher, yes? That's right. I'm studying life in hyperspace. We have watched your people for many years. You are different from the others who come here. Different how? The dodecagon considered this. The others who travel through our realm are afraid. They see us and think monster or horror, but your people see us and think neighbor. Well, you are our neighbors, in a way. We share the same space when we travel. Yes, we appreciate this attitude. It is refreshing. One of the small triangles rolled up to Jae-on-woo and made a sound like giggling. It seemed to want to play. Hello there, little one, Jae-on-woo said. He kneeled down to get on the triangle's level. What's your name? The triangle made more giggling sounds and started rolling in circles around Jae-on-woo's feet. I think it likes you, the dodecagon said. Children are drawn to your people. You have a warmth that we find comforting. Back on the ship, Dr. Simon was having a nervous breakdown. "This is not how first contact is supposed to work," he said to Dr. Rilke. "The humans are treating cosmic horrors like pets." "I know," Dr. Rilke replied. Her light was flickering with confusion. "Professor Zhong is conducting formal interviews with entities that exist outside the normal concept of existence, and she's taking notes like it's perfectly normal. And their cook is serving lunch to creatures made of living mathematics." It was true. Yunhee had set up a table outside the ship and was serving her interdimensional soup to anyone who wanted to try it. A group of curious entities had gathered around. They couldn't actually eat the soup, but they seemed to enjoy the experience of trying. "The flavor exists in 17 dimensions," one creature observed. It looked like a butterfly made of frozen lightning. "This is artistic." "Thank you," Yunhee said, ladling out another bowl. "The trick is to cook with feeling, not just heat." Wu Jin was chatting with a security entity, something that looked like a walking shadow with too many arms. Apparently, it was the neighborhood watch for this part of hyperspace. "So you keep the peace around here?" Wu Jin asked. "We maintain order," the shadow replied. "Though order here is different from order in your reality. I bet. What kind of problems do you deal with?" "Mostly dimensional tourists who get lost. Sometimes entities from the chaos realms try to cause trouble. Nothing we cannot handle." "Sounds like good work. Important work." The shadow seemed pleased. "We do our best. Your people are easy to work with. Very polite. Always clean up after themselves." Near the ship, Nari had gathered a whole group of hyperspace entities for what she called a focus group. She was asking them about their experiences with human travelers. "So what do you think of humans in general?" she asked. Tuesday, the silver cloud, spoke first. "They are refreshing. They see us without fear." The living equation that had started as blue was now a warm gold. "They ask questions. No one has ever asked us questions before." A creature that looked like a singing crystal added, "They share food. Even though we cannot eat, the gesture is meaningful. And they name us," said another entity. This one appeared to be a small tornado made of starlight. "My name is Kevin. A human child named me last month." "Kevin?" Nari asked. "She said I reminded her of her little brother." "I do not understand the comparison, but I like having a name." Jianwu was still playing with the geometric children. They had taught him a game that involved existing in 5 dimensions at once. He wasn't very good at it, but he was having fun trying. "Your turn." "Professor!" called out one of the triangles. Jianwu concentrated and tried to expand his existence into the 5th dimension. He managed it for about 3 seconds before snapping back to normal space. "Almost," the dodecagon parent said encouragingly. "You are getting better." "Thanks. This is harder than it looks." "Everything worthwhile is difficult at first." Dr. Zimal's voice crackled over the radio. "Professor Shin, we should return to the ship soon. We have been in deep hyperspace for 6 hours. "Just a few more minutes," Geonwu replied. "I'm learning so much." He looked around at all the strange and wonderful creatures they had met. Tuesday was teaching Nari songs that existed only as mathematical concepts. Yoonhee was showing Kevin the Tornado how to season soup with emotions. Woojin was comparing security techniques with the shadow entity. "You know what?" Gaeonwoo said to the Dodekagon. "I think we're going to need a bigger research budget." Soon-Ho Yu looked at his screens and sighed. It was going to be another busy day at the Interdimensional Traffic Control Center. He had 47 ships wanting to jump to hyperspace in the next hour, including 3 alien vessels that needed special hand-holding. "Attention, Seoul Express," he said into his headset. "You are cleared for hyperspace jump to Proxima Station. Please remember to stay in the marked travel lanes." "Copy that, Control," came Tyke's familiar voice. "See you on the flip side." Soon-Ho smiled. Tyke was one of his favorite captains. Always professional, never caused problems, and his ship's cook made the best kimchi in 3-star systems. His next call was less pleasant. Zephyrian vessel. "Clicking death," he said, reading from his screen. "You are..." "What kind of name is clicking? Death?" "It means swift journey in our language," came the reply. The voice sounded nervous. "Right. Anyway, you're cleared for jump, but please stay calm during hyperspace transit. The entities there are harmless." "Harmless? The cosmic horrors are harmless?" Soon-Ho rubbed his temples. He had this conversation at least 5 times a day. "They're not cosmic horrors. They're just locals. Think of them as the neighborhood watch. They keep an eye on things. But our psychological preparation team says..." "Your psychological preparation team has never actually been to hyperspace," Soon-Ho interrupted. "Look, do you want to make the jump or not? I've got a schedule to keep." We will attempt the transit." "Great. Safe travels. Try not to scream too much. It hurts their feelings." The Zephyrian ship's radio went quiet. Across the control center, Bitna Song was handling customer service calls. Her desk was covered with coffee cups, stress balls, and a small plant that somehow thrived under fluorescent lights. Interdimensional. "Customer service, this is Bitna. How can I help you?" "Yes, hello," said a voice that sounded like wind chimes having an argument. "This is Captain Floral's Song of Distant Stars from the Etherean merchant vessel Harmony of Light. We completed our first hyperspace jump yesterday and we have concerns." "What kind of concerns?" Bitna asked, pulling up the ship's file on her computer. "Well, during the jump, several tentacles emerged from our navigation console." "Did they interfere with your navigation?" "No, but..." "Were they threatening in any way?" "Well, no, but did they damage any equipment?" "Actually, they seemed to be helping. One of them pointed out that we had a loose wire, and another one organized our spare parts." "But that's not the point." Bitna made a note in the file. "I see. So the tentacles were helpful and didn't cause any problems." "But they're tentacles coming out of our control panel. This cannot be normal." "It's completely normal," Bitna said, patiently. "The entities in hyperspace are very helpful. They like to fix things. Consider it free maintenance service." "Free maintenance service?" "That's right. Did they leave a little thank you note when they were done?" There was a pause. "How did you know about the note?" "They always leave notes. It's polite." "What did it say?" "It said, 'Thank you for letting us help. Your ship is very tidy. We hope you have a pleasant journey. Signed, the Maintenance Collective. C. Excellent customer service. Is there anything else I can help you with today? No, I think we're fine. Wonderful. Have a great day and thanks for choosing human-guided hyperspace travel. Bitna ended the call and immediately picked up another one. Interdimensional customer service. This is Bitna. Help! Screamed a voice that sounded like gravel in a blender. The walls of our ship are singing. What are they singing? Bitna asked calmly. What? The walls. What song are they singing? What kind of question is that? An important one. If they're singing opera, it means you have artistic entities on board. Very cultured. If they're singing pop music, it means you have teenage entities. They're harmless, but can be noisy. They're singing, I think it's folk music. Something about traveling and friendship. Oh, those are the old-timer entities. They're sweet, very experienced travelers. They're probably just trying to make you feel welcome. But walls aren't supposed to sing. In hyperspace, everything sings if it's happy enough. Just enjoy the music. The folk song entities have beautiful voices. In another part of the building, Minho Park was reviewing insurance claims. He worked for Cosmic Journey Insurance, a company that specialized in hyperspace travel coverage. Let's see, he muttered, reading through a claim form. Etherian Merchant Vessel. Claim, psychological damage from exposure to cosmic entities. Recommended payout, 01. He stamped the form with a big red denied stamp and moved on to the next one. Zephyrian Passenger Liner. Claim, navigation equipment possessed by interdimensional beings. Recommended payout, 01. Another stamp. Another denial. These people need to read their insurance policies, Minho said to his assistant Yuna. Right there in section 4.2. Standard hyperspace phenomena are not covered under psychological trauma provisions. What about this one? Yuna asked, handing him another form. Human freighter. Claim, interdimensional entities ate all our coffee during hyperspace transit. Minho read the form carefully. Coffee theft by hyperspace entities. That's actually covered under Section 7.3, unauthorized consumption of ship supplies by interdimensional life forms. He stamped the form with a green approved stamp. Send them a check for 200,001, he told Yuna, and include a voucher for our preferred coffee supplier. No one should have to travel through hyperspace without good coffee. Meanwhile, on the other side of Seoul, Ji-young Kim was leading a tour group through the Hyperspace Experience Center. The center was a museum and training facility where aliens could learn about hyperspace travel in a safe environment. Welcome to the Hyperspace Experience, she said to her group of nervous-looking tourists. I'm Ji-young, and I'll be your guide today. Before we begin, does anyone have any questions? A creature that looked like a walking flower raised one of its petal hands. Is it true that humans travel through hyperspace without protective equipment? That's right, Ji-young said cheerfully. We don't need special suits or psychological shielding, just normal clothes and a good attitude. A gasping sound came from several tourists. But how do you survive the cosmic horror? Asked a fish-like being. Well, that's what we're here to learn about. Follow me to the simulation room. She led them into a room that looked like the inside of a spaceship. The walls were covered with screens that could show hyperspace environments. Now, when you enter hyperspace, you might see things that look strange, Ji-young explained. The key is to remember that strange doesn't mean dangerous. She turned on the simulators. The screens showed the swirling, impossible geometries of hyperspace. Several tourists immediately closed their eyes. "Look at that creature there," Ji-young said, pointing to a tentacled being on one of the screens. "That's what we call a helper. They're very friendly. If you wave at them, they usually wave back." "You wave at cosmic horrors?" squeaked a small, mouse-like alien. "They're not cosmic horrors, they're just different. Watch!" Ji-young pressed a button, and the simulation showed a human crew member waving at the tentacled creature. The creature waved back with several tentacles, looking pleased. "See? Friendly neighbors." The tour continued for 2 hours. Ji-young showed them videos of human children playing games with interdimensional entities, human cooks sharing recipes with mathematical life forms, and human engineers getting helpful maintenance tips from hyperspace dwellers. By the end of the tour, most of the aliens looked confused but less frightened. "So the secret to surviving hyperspace travel," said the flower creature, "is to be nice?" "Pretty much," Ji-young agreed. "Be polite, be respectful, and remember that everyone's just trying to get along." "That's it? That's it. The universe is a big place, but most of the people in it are decent folks, even the ones with tentacles." Back at the traffic control center, Sunho was dealing with his daily headache, a Galactic Council inspection team. "Mr. Yu," said Inspector Vorthak, the same Zephyrian who had met with Ambassador Kim months earlier. "We need to discuss your safety protocols." "What about them?" Sunho asked. "You don't have any." "Sure we do. Rule 1, be polite. Rule 2, don't litter. Rule 3, if something glowing asks you a question, answer honestly." Inspector Vorthak's many eyes blinked in confusion. "Those are not safety protocols. Those are social guidelines." Same thing, really. The biggest safety hazard in hyperspace is being rude to the locals. But what about psychological preparation? Protective equipment? Emergency procedures? Sunho shrugged. "We tried psychological preparation once. Made everyone too nervous to do their jobs properly. As for protective equipment, regular clothes work fine, and emergency procedures are simple. If something goes wrong, ask for help. The hyperspace entities are usually happy to assist." Inspector Vorthak made notes on his tablet. His handwriting was very neat but completely unreadable. "Mr. Yu, your approach to interdimensional travel safety is highly irregular." "Maybe, but it works. We have the lowest accident rate in the galaxy. That is statistically impossible." "Check the numbers," Sunho said. He handed Inspector Vorthak a report. "Last year, we guided over 10,000 ships through hyperspace. 0 fatalities, 0 permanent psychological damage, 3 minor cases of motion sickness." Inspector Vorthak read the report. His eyes grew wider with each page. Dr. Sung-jae Oh sat in his office at Seoul National University, looking at the strangest research data he had ever seen. On his desk were brain scans, psychological evaluations, and interview transcripts from over 1,000 humans who had traveled through hyperspace. The results made no sense. "This is impossible," he muttered, adjusting his glasses. "According to every theory of cosmic psychology, these people should be insane." His research assistant, Minju, brought him another cup of coffee. "Maybe the theories are wrong?" "The theories have been tested on 17 different species across the galaxy. They all show the same results. Exposure to interdimensional entities causes severe psychological trauma." "But not in humans?" Dr. O shook his head. "Not only do humans not suffer trauma, they actually seem to enjoy the experience. Look at this." He pulled up a brain scan on his computer. "This is the brain of Captain Take Lee after a 6-hour hyperspace journey. See these areas?" He pointed to sections that were glowing bright green. "These are the regions associated with happiness, curiosity, and social bonding." He was happy during hyperspace travel? Not just happy, he was having fun. And look at this. Dr. O pulled up another scan. This is from navigator Jiho Nam. Same journey, same results. His brain shows patterns consistent with someone watching. "A mildly interesting movie," Minju frowned. "What about the children? The ones who travel on school trips?" Even stranger. Dr. O showed her more scans. The children's brains show patterns similar to those seen during play activities. They're literally treating interdimensional travel like a fun game. Across town, Professor Inha Yoon was having her own meeting with the Galactic Council's philosophy department. They had come to Earth to understand how humans could remain mentally stable in hyperspace. "Professor Yoon," said Dr. Qualex, an Etherian philosopher who appeared as a shifting cloud of silver light. "We must understand this phenomenon. How do humans resist the existential terror of interdimensional travel?" Inha smiled and poured tea for her guests. Well, she poured tea for the ones who could drink it. Dr. Qualex just enjoyed the smell. "I think the answer is simpler than you expect," she said. "Humans are very good at finding the ordinary in the extraordinary." "What do you mean?" asked Professor Zilnek, a Zephyrian who looked like an intelligent insect. "Well, consider this. Every day, humans wake up on a planet that is spinning through space at incredible speeds, orbiting a massive ball of nuclear fire in a galaxy containing billions of stars. If we thought too hard about that, we'd never get out of bed." Dr. Qualex flickered with confusion. "But surely you understand the cosmic significance." "Of course we do. But we also have to go to work, pick up groceries, and remember to call our mothers. The cosmic significance doesn't change the fact that we need to live our daily lives." She sipped her tea and continued. "When humans encounter something new and strange, our first instinct isn't to be terrified. It's to figure out how to deal with it practically." "Practically?" Professor Zilnek's antennae twitched. "Yes. When we first saw interdimensional entities, we didn't think cosmic horror. We thought interesting neighbors. When tentacles started growing out of our control panels, we didn't panic. We thought free maintenance service." "Professor." Zilnek made notes with remarkable speed. "But what about the philosophical implications? The challenge to your understanding of reality?" Inha shrugged. Reality is bigger than we thought. So what? We adapt. We learn. We make friends with the locals. Meanwhile, in a maintenance facility at Seoul Spaceport, Dong-Yun Lee was explaining hyperspace drive maintenance to a group of alien engineers. He had been working on FTL engines for 20 years and knew them better than anyone. The key to a good hyperspace drive, he said, patting a large machine, is regular maintenance and good relationships with the entities. Relationships? Asked Chief Engineer Glorbix, a creature that looked like a walking tree made of metal. Sure. The hyperspace entities like to help with maintenance. They're actually pretty good at it, but you have to ask them nicely. Dong-Yun opened the engine casing and pointed to various components. See these crystalline matrices? The entities like to keep them clean. They do it for free, but only if you're polite about it. You let cosmic horrors maintain your engines? Glorbix's voice creaked like old wood. They're not cosmic horrors. They're the cosmic maintenance department. Very professional. They even leave instruction manuals. Dong-Yun pulled out a small booklet written in symbols that hurt to look at directly. This is Basic Engine Care for Three-Dimensional Beings, written by the Interdimensional Mechanics Union. Very helpful. You can read that? Not really. But my daughter translated it for me. She's studying interdimensional languages in college. The alien engineers exchanged looks that conveyed pure bewilderment. At Seoul Elementary School, Soo-Young Choi was teaching her third-grade class about space travel. The children were drawing pictures of their summer vacations, and several had included hyperspace trips. Min-hee, Soo-Young said, looking at one student's drawing, "Tell me about your picture." Min-hee held up her artwork. It showed a spaceship surrounded by colorful tentacles and impossible shapes. Everyone in the picture was smiling. This is when... "We went to visit my grandma on Mars," Min-hee explained. "During the hyperspace jump, the tentacle monsters played games with us. They're really funny." "What kind of games?" Soo-Young asked. "Hide and seek. But they're not very good at hiding because they're so big. And they taught us a song about traveling between dimensions." Another student, Jin Young, raised his hand. "My favorite part is when they help fix the ship. They have really good tools." "Tools?" asked a visiting Zephyrian education observer. "Yeah. They have screwdrivers that work in 17 dimensions and hammers made of pure mathematics. Super cool." The Zephyrian observer made frantic notes. So-Young smiled. "Class, what do we remember about traveling in hyperspace?" The children raised their hands eagerly. "Always say please and thank you," called out Min-hee. "Don't touch the glowing things without asking," added Jin Young. "Share your snacks," shouted another student. "And if something scary happens, ask an adult for help," finished a boy named Junho. The Zephyrian observer looked at Soo-Young. "This is how you prepare children for interdimensional travel? Basic politeness?" "It works," So-Young said. "Children are naturally adaptable. They see strange creatures and think, new friends, instead of cosmic horror. We just teach them to be polite and respectful." "But what about the psychological preparation protocols?" "We tried those once. The children got bored during the safety briefing and started asking if they could play with the tentacle monsters. We realized the protocols were making things more complicated than they needed to be." Back at the university, Dr. O was presenting his findings to a joint meeting of human and alien psychologists. After extensive research, he said, clicking to his next slide, I believe I have identified the key factors that protect humans from hyperspace-induced psychological trauma. The audience leaned forward. Factor 1. Practical mindset. Humans tend to focus on immediate practical concerns rather than abstract philosophical implications. When faced with incomprehensible cosmic entities, we ask, what do they want? And how can we help each other? Rather than, what does this mean for the nature of reality? Factor 2. Social adaptability. Humans have evolved to form social bonds with almost anyone. We've domesticated wolves, befriended dolphins, and taught gorillas sign language. Interdimensional entities are just the next step. Factor 3. Compartmentalization. Humans are excellent at accepting contradictory information without mental breakdown. We can simultaneously believe that the universe is vast and incomprehensible while worrying about whether we remembered to turn off the coffee maker. A Zephyrian psychologist raised a claw. But Dr. O, what about the children? Surely young minds are more vulnerable to psychological trauma. Dr. O smiled. Actually, children show the strongest resistance to hyperspace trauma. Their brains are still developing, which makes them more adaptable. Plus, they haven't yet learned to be afraid of things that are different. He clicked to a video clip. This is footage from a school trip to the Proxima system. Watch the children's reactions during hyperspace transit. The video showed a group of 7-year-olds looking out the windows of a spaceship. Outside, impossible. Geometries danced through space while tentacled entities the size of buildings drifted past. The children were laughing and pointing excitedly. Look! That one has 17 eyes. I can see colors that don't have names. The big tentacle monster is waving at us. Several children waved back enthusiastically. The alien psychologists watched in stunned silence. As you can see, Dr. O continued, the children treat hyperspace travel as an adventure. They're curious, not terrified. They want to learn, not hide. Professor Inha spoke up from the audience. This brings us to what I call the kindergarten principle. The what? Asked an Etherian observer. The kindergarten principle. If you want to know how to handle a new situation, watch how kindergarten teachers do it. They deal with chaos, unpredictability, and beings who operate by completely different rules than adults. Yet they manage to maintain order and create learning environments. She gestured to Su-Yung, who was also in the audience. 6 months after the first Galactic Council meeting, the universe looked very different. Kyung-Hoon Jong stood in his new office at the Department of Interdimensional Normalization, looking out the window at the busiest spaceport in the galaxy. Ships from dozens of species were coming and going, and most of them had human crew members on board. Sir? His assistant, Bo-Yung, knocked on the door. The Etherian Integration Group is here for their 3 o'clock appointment. Send them in, Kyung-Hoon said. He straightened his tie and sat down at his desk. 3 Etherian beings floated into his office. They looked like clouds of silver light, but he could tell they were nervous by the way their glow flickered. Welcome to Din, Kyung-Hoon said cheerfully. I'm Director Jang. How can we help you today? We want to travel through hyperspace, said the lead Etherian. But our people are still afraid. That's completely normal, Kyung-hoon assured them. Fear of the unknown is natural. That's why we created the integration program. He pulled out a folder from his desk. We offer 3 levels of support. Level 1 is basic orientation. We explain what hyperspace is really like and introduce you to some friendly entities. Level 2 includes a guided practice jump with experienced human crew members. Level 3 is full integration. We help you set up your own hyperspace travel program. What does Level 1 involve? Asked one of the Etherians. Well, first we watch some videos of successful hyperspace journeys. Then we visit the Hyperspace Experience Center where you can meet entities in a safe environment. Finally, we have a nice lunch where everyone shares their concerns and asks questions. Lunch. Food helps people relax. Though for Etherians, we serve energy-based refreshments. The Etherians flickered with what might have been hope. And this works? We have a 97% success rate. Most species complete the program and go on to establish regular hyperspace routes. Down the hall, Yejin Moon was in her own meeting. As Director of Interdimensional Relations, she spent most of her time managing the growing diplomatic relationships between humans and hyperspace entities. Ambassador Tuesday, she said to the silver cloud floating across from her desk. Thank you for coming in today. It is our pleasure, Director Moon, Tuesday replied. We have news from the Deep Hyperspace Council. Good news, I hope. Very good. The Council has voted to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. We would like to open an embassy. Yejin smiled. That's wonderful. Do you have any location? Preferences? We would like to be near the Interdimensional Traffic Control Center. We wish to help coordinate travel between our realm and yours. That makes sense. I'll have our construction team design an embassy that exists in multiple dimensions, standard diplomatic amenities plus space for entities that don't follow normal physics. You are very accommodating. It's good business. Plus you make excellent coffee. It was true. The hyperspace entities had started a small cafe inside the traffic control center. They couldn't drink coffee themselves, but they had learned to make it by observing the emotions it created in humans. The result was coffee that tasted like happiness. At Seoul Elementary School, Haeun Park was giving her presentation about summer vacation to her 4th grade class. She stood at the front of the room with a poster covered in colorful drawings. This summer, my family went on a vacation to 17 different dimensions, she began. We stayed in a hotel that existed in 4 space-time locations at once. The room service came through the walls. Her teacher, Mr. Kwan, smiled encouragingly. Tell us about the most interesting place you visited. The Probability Gardens, Haeun said excitedly. It's a place where all the things that might happen actually do happen. I met 17 different versions of myself. One of them had learned to play piano. Another one had a pet dragon. A student raised her hand. Weren't you scared of the cosmic monsters? Haeun looked confused. What cosmic? Monsters! You mean my pen pal Kevin? He's not a monster. He's just made of living starlight. He taught me how to write my name in mathematical equations. She held up a paper covered with symbols that seemed to move when you looked at them directly. This, says Heian Park, in interdimensional mathematics. Kevin says it's very pretty. Mr. Kwan nodded. Did you learn anything else interesting? Oh, yes. I entered the Interdimensional Science Fair and won first place. What was your project? Another, student asked. Why tentacles are actually pretty efficient. A study in nonlinear physics. I proved that tentacles are the best way to manipulate objects in 17 dimensions at once. She pulled out a small model made of flexible tubes. This is a scale. Model of an interdimensional tentacle. See how it can reach around corners that don't exist? The visiting Galactic Council education observer, a Zephyrian named Dr. Kliksek, frantically scribbled notes. This was supposed to be a normal elementary school class, but the children were discussing advanced physics concepts that most university students couldn't understand. Miss Park, Dr. Kliksek interrupted. Are you not frightened by these tentacle entities? Heiyun tilted her head. Why would I be frightened? They're very nice. They help carry luggage and give excellent hugs. Though you have to be careful because they don't always remember which dimension your luggage is supposed to exist in. But they are alien, unknown, potentially dangerous. So are dogs until you get to know them. My mom always says the universe is full of friends you haven't met yet. Dr. Kliksek's pen stopped moving. Meanwhile, at the Cosmic Journey Insurance Building, Minho Park was having the best quarter in company history. Claims were down 99%, and customer satisfaction was through the roof. I don't understand it, he said to his regional manager during their video call. 6 months ago, we were paying out millions in psychological trauma claims. Now we're mostly handling routine maintenance issues. What changed? His manager asked. Humans. Started traveling with other species as guides and support staff. Turns out, having a human crew member on board reduces alien anxiety by 95%. How do they do it? Minho shrugged. They just talk to people. They explain what's happening. They make friends with the hyperspace entities. They serve snacks. Snacks? Never underestimate the power of good food to improve any situation. The Galactic Council headquarters, Ambassador Dae-ho Kim was attending his first joint session of the year. The meeting room looked very different from 6 months ago. Instead of fearful whispers and emergency protocols, there was an atmosphere of excitement and cooperation. The floor recognizes Ambassador Kim of Earth, announced Speaker Vorthak. Dae-ho stood up and addressed the assembly. Thank you, Speaker Vorthak. I'm pleased to report that the Interdimensional Integration Program has exceeded all expectations. Clicked a remote, and a holographic display showed statistics floating in the air above the assembly. In the past 6 months, we've successfully integrated 247 species into regular hyperspace travel. Psychological trauma incidents are down 98%. Travel times are 40% faster due to improved cooperation with hyperspace entities. And customer satisfaction ratings are at an all-time high. A murmur of amazement went through the assembly. Furthermore, Dae-ho continued, 17 species have established formal diplomatic relations with hyperspace entities. Trade agreements are being negotiated. Cultural exchange programs are being planned. How is this possible? Asked Counselor Zilnek. Simple. We treated the hyperspace entities as people instead of problems. We listened to them. We learned from them. We became friends. And they responded positively to this approach? More than positively. They've been waiting for someone to talk to them for thousands of years. Turns out they were just as curious about us as we were about them. Speaker Vorthak leaned forward. Ambassador Kim, the Council would like to make a formal request. What kind of request? We would like Earth to become the official headquarters for all interdimensional relations in this sector of the galaxy. Deho blinked. That's a big responsibility. You have proven that humans have a unique gift for interdimensional diplomacy. The entire galaxy would benefit from your expertise. The Assembly voted unanimously. Earth was now the galaxy's official department of interdimensional normalization. After the meeting, Deho called his wife. "Honey, you're not going to believe what just happened." "Let me guess," she said. "They want you to take another job that's going to keep you away from home even more." Actually, they want to move the galactic headquarters to Seoul. There was a pause. Seoul, Korea. Seoul, Earth. They're building a new interdimensional campus right next to the university. "Well," his wife said, "at least you won't have to commute through hyperspace every day." Actually, the hyperspace entities offered to build a direct portal from our house to the office. No commute at all. Interdimensional entities are going to build something in our backyard? Don't worry. They're very good contractors. They work fast, they clean up after themselves, and they offer a lifetime warranty. That evening, families across Earth were having similar conversations. Children came home from school with homework. Assignments like write a letter to your favorite interdimensional entity and draw a picture of what happiness looks like in 17 dimensions. Parents discussed carpools that traveled through hyperspace and PTA meetings that included representatives from the Geometric Collective. Teachers planned Phi.